And welcome everybody to the 22nd Ordinary Meeting of the 174th Session of the Literary and Scientific Society. And let it never be said that we do not discuss the important topics in this house. Politics, history, theology, and of course Breaking Bad. So, to start off, does anyone have any council announcements?
The first thing is, well, we'll do the least important thing first. So on Sunday in the Great Hall we have a special debate with the Imagine Festival on the motion, "This House believes the Good Friday Agreement has failed our generation," and we've got some guest speakers coming along from that, including Lord Weir, Owen Tennyson, the Elijah Play, Dr. Stephen Jobs, who the other ones? Can't remember the other ones. Oh yeah, David Kerr, who was Trimble's tribal secretary between 1998 and 2002. And then we also have a few other people speaking, including Roisin and Tom Burton here, and who else?
So Seamus DeFoysha.
Yeah, Seamus DeFoysha. And
probably Keira Swill. Keira Swill.
Oh yeah, Keira Swill. So that's at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then there's that's at 7 p.m. in the Great Hall this Sunday. And then the other thing is, on Monday we've got our annual formal coming up, the Conversazioni. So there is still a chance for you to sign up for that if you just come to me this evening and say I want to come. And also if you've still to pay for the formal on Monday and you haven't got any cash tonight, just also come up to me and I'll give you a payment method. So yes, those are my two.
Do you accept Klarna Pay and Treat?
Do I accept Klarna Pay and No, it has to be paid before Monday. So yeah, those are my two announcements. The biggest one being Conversazioni.
Any other council announcements? Okay, so I'm probably going to give the biggest announcement. Well, maybe not the biggest, but
resigning.
The annual AGM, annual general meeting, is on the 17th of April, and you can run for any council position you want. So you can run for president, secretary, treasurer, internal convener, external convener, outreach officer, training officer, social officer, events officer, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
So you can run for any of them as well. You can also vote in it if you're a paid up member. And I think you also have to be a paid up member to run for a position. And that will be on the 17th of April, room to be announced. Please check our social medias to see that. Anyway, could I invite James Orch and HLM up to give the minutes of last week's meeting?
On the 16th of March, yes, I agree. On the 16th of March 2023, the Literific met for the 21st Ordinary Meeting of the 174th Session for the motion, "This House regrets the Reformation." Andrew Crovers was introduced as our guest speaker and received a round of applause. As usual, the meeting began with minutes. Dermot Hamill announced the Irish Times debate workshop on Monday, which went very well for those of you who were in attendance, and well, all one person who turned up. An addendum was added by Keira Swill, who revealed that she had various files in the Irish Time format. Nobody cared about that. Ryan Hoey HLM thanked those who came along to the drunk debate on the prior Monday, in addition to the Conversazioni, which was mentioned again. And finally, the Literific had teamed up with the Imagine Festival, which is, I believe, this Sunday. I know I was out of the room there. President Tulsi McSparran announced that she would continue to harass people to open their houses to Southerners out of the goodness of their hearts. Following reading the minutes, the meeting turned to private members' business. Dermot Hamill then raised his own 95 theses, but I think there was actually about 98 at this point, of why Tulsi McSparran should be cooed. These included the fact that she is a woman, she is from North Belfast, she is apparently a Methodist, she fraternises with Liverpudlians, she is a quote-unquote latte-drinking liberal and a woke lefty, and that she is not Umar Ziam, Mitt Romney or Bertie Ahern, and that she is short, coming from Dermot. That's quite an interesting point. Responses were heard from no one. Noel Barley then raised the new foreign policy system with Australia, the UK and the US. Responses were heard from Sam Hazlitt, who advocated for more nuclear weapons, Luke Anthony Patrick Maguire, who supported nuclear weapons by quoting Ronald Reagan, and President Emeritus Daniel McCormick, Dermot Hamill and Noel Barley again. Jodie Morrow graced us with her presence, mentioning some pop culture issue. I don't know what it was, but at this point Sam whispered to me, "I don't know who these people are," and I agreed with him. Responses were heard from various people including Luke, who advocated Russian nukiness in this instance. Sam Hazlitt then raised the issue of stamps rising to £1.10 again. Responses were heard from Ryan Hoey, HLM, Ciara Swale and Dermot Hamill. Terence Pringle Metcalfe is quote-unquote a formal philatelist, spoke as well. The meeting then moved on to President's questions, unfortunately. Ryan Hoey then asked the President what she had for breakfast. Toasted wheaten bread was apparently what she had. Dermot Hamill asked which of the theses she liked. She found the points woman and misogynist to be very convincing arguments. Thomas Cheadle then asked the President what her favourite Disney Channel show was. She responded with something called Princess Protection Programme, which sounds something like Witness Protection Programme, but probably not. Ciara Swale then asked the President what she would like to do on St. Patrick's Day. The President lamented the fact that she would have to speak to Southerners. A Southerner, President Emeritus Daniel McCormick, spoke, somewhat broke the protocol to ask our guest chair, how did his presidency come to an end? President Emeritus Andrew Carruthers explained that his presidency had concluded with a peaceful transfer of power between two elected leaders. Oh, how times change. Terence Metcalfe then discussed how he had been shoved against a wall by Sam Hazlitt and Jack Sands and was forced to condemn the French, and asked whether being asked to condemn the French was a bit too extreme. This was met with cries of shame. Luke Maguire then asked the question. The President replied in the affirmative. I'm not going to tell you what it was. Noel Barnley then asked if President Emeritus Andrew Carruthers condemned the French. He said that it was apparently a secret. President Emeritus Daniel McCormick then asked the President her views on the SU elections. I'm not going to say what that was. Sam Hazlitt then made a point of clarification saying that he hadn't pushed Terence against the wall. Again, when this goes to the High Court, I'm sure most of us will hope that we're on jury duty, then we can see what actually happened. After the President's questions, the vote of prior opinion was held. There were 5 votes for aye, 17 for nay, and 14 alliance voters, so the opposition had it. President Emeritus Andrew Carruthers then introduced the debate. At this point, I needed to go to the toilet, so I asked Sam Hazlitt to note down the minutes of the section. When I returned, he wrote, and I quote, "Some things were said." Thanks, Sam. First to speak of the proposition was Eleanor Robbins, who spoke about the destruction of monasteries by parliamentarians in Wales and the loss of culture due to Protestantism, cultural tragedy, comparison to the Library of Alexandria. Counter-arguments were noted stating that the opposition were pro-book burning. This was a recurring thing throughout the night, asking them to think about their values. The French Revolution was also noted as an example of intolerance. Reform ultimately needed to be done in the Catholic Church, but it concluded that the actual Reformation led to loss of culture. First in the opposition was Peter Hutchinson, who used his hands a lot, a bit like this, like an impression of an Italian, and admitted tragedies occurred during the Reformation, arguing that people were burnt on both sides. He proposed that we should think of ourselves as if we lived in the 16th century. I know what it feels like. And then he mentioned indulgences. The Catholic Church claimed was not following the scripture. When asked about Catholics being burned, he stated, quote, "There were crimes committed on both sides," end quote. He then complained about Latin. He then concluded with a homily before the fellow members of the Kirk. Second on the proposition was Luke Maguire, quote-unquote, back by unpopular demand. He pranced about. He started by talking about desire and admitted that the Catholic Church was flawed, but he still loved it. He stated the Protestants made problems worse, and ultimately vanity was what the opposition offered. The opposition offered broken relationships and egoism. He discussed the values of communitarianism over individualism. He then dealt with questions of desire and reason and self-assertion, and then sat down. Second on the opposition was John McClintock, who grasped the lectern. He began with a few points of rebuttal. As soon as the bell was hit, every speaker on the other side put their hands up and screamed on that point, a sign of things to come. He discussed the beliefs of Martin Luther and his belief in the individual and coming up with your own position on issues, and the quote-unquote the principles of Henry VIII, end quote, was said. And then there was something about Brexit. He then argued that one of the net positives of the Reformation was the emergence of strong national German identity. The final speaker on the proposition was Ciara Swale. She began with a very eloquent speech because I fed her all the information the night before. This is a debate between the church and monarchy, and she argued that the money from the indulgences was used to aid charity and social issues. The Reformation gave monarchs the power to reject the church and were now able to have power for themselves. And then she also brought up the 30 Years' War, which was not a good thing. The final speaker for the opposition was Sam Hazlitt, who apologised for his arguments being higgledy-piggledy. He argued that the opposition the other side promoted a utopian vision that did not accord with reality, where violence was routine and quote-unquote Northern Ireland-like, end quote. He condemned the use of funny hats in the Catholic Church as well. There was also about a minute of Bible studies discussion between Sam and Luke. Ego was brought up again, and he critiqued the idyllic picture promoted by Kira. The medieval era saw the church and crown both with financial support. It wasn't one or the other. He then read legislation on heresy, which got me very excitable. Questions were then heard from Dermot Hamill, President Emeritus Daniel McCormick, and Ryan Hoey, with President Emeritus Andrew Crubbers giving some good summing up points. Following the debate and questions from the House, a vote on speakerability occurred. There were 18 for the proposition, 15 for the opposition, and 5 people couldn't make their minds up. I take the minutes as read.
Aye.
Thank you, James, for that very eloquent reading of the minutes. And now we move on to private members' business, where you have about 15 minutes to discuss anything you've seen on the news or anything you just want to talk about as well. So, who wants to go first? Private members' business.
I will go first. So let me find it. So, where is it? So this week, Jim Shannon MP tabled a parliamentary motion commemorating the 50th anniversary of Dolly Parton's "I Will Always Love You." So just to read from the early day motion, he put that this House celebrates the 50th anniversary of Dolly Parton's hit song "I Will Always Love You." Notes the sentiment behind the song and what it means to so many, including the wife of the Honourable Member for Stratford, and highlights this song's and her music in general to the industry, especially in the 60s, blah blah blah. So yes, what are the House's thoughts on Jim Shannon putting this early day motion?
Anybody have anything to say on Jim Shannon?
He's dead, right? He's dead, right? As he is on everything, in fact. Jim Shannon keeping his impeccable reputation up to, in everything that he does. I'm very, very proud of him.
As somebody who lives near Jim Shannon's constituency in Stratford, the absolute grip that Dolly Parton has on Cambridge University it's like my entire childhood was listening to Dolly Parton through Hugo Duncan, which I've tried to tell other people who aren't from Down about Hugo Duncan. There's an old man on the radio who starts off the show by saying, "Your Uncle Hugo loves you." Dead true. It's on the loop. So yeah, I think Dolly Parton should be commended. That's someone from our area.
Anybody else on Dolly Parton, Jim Shannon?
There's a sentence that you never said.
Any other pieces of private members' business?
There's nothing happened in the world this week.
Nobody? Not even Stumps?
Oh, yes. I have brought this up 2 weeks in a row and they still haven't reversed the decision. So, the third week in a row I would bring up the horrendous price of stamps, £1.10, which I think is ridiculous. And I wonder if any members of the House who haven't been here for the last 2 weeks would like to comment on this.
Man in green shirt, please state your name for the minutes.
How often do you buy stamps?
Such a big topic.
It's the principle.
Godfather t-shirt.
What's worse, the price of Freddos or the price of stamps? Stamps. So you buy stamps or do you buy Freddos? How often is that?
Sam doesn't buy the Freddos, he just puts them in his pockets.
Yes, stamps you have to ask for. Freddo's not easy to steal, but stamps you get behind the counter. You see, so there's no way around it.
Anybody on the addition of Freddos?
Yeah.
Mix? I'll go. Or on stamps, if you want.
It's all stamps. I don't It's kind of contradictory for me to say it's like a socialist, but it's like you actually are able to notice the price of stamps. You don't think you should like get a fucking job?
Quite possibly.
I don't know what you're going to say.
I think that we should consider asking the Swifties to do something about this. It's not what they did to the price of eggs. Like, I think they might be able to counteract this a little bit.
I'll go you, then you, and then please another point. Calm down. Okay. Any new points of private members' business? Oh, I thought you just put your hands down. Okay. Okay, if you all want to go and then a new point.
Okay. Look, Anthony Patrick. Yes. I thought you hated the poor. It was one of the few things I respected. the stranglehold the price of stamps has on keeping down poor people is a real big hot button issue, I think. And I also agree that we should keep them down.
On to Daniel.
I just would like to ask any of our, Jack, addressing your point and stranglehold that Price Stamps has on poor. I just want to ask, how would any of our Green Party voters or potential future or MPs, maybe, or any non-denominational socialists approach the whole issue of stamps and their stranglehold on the floor? I feel as though you can't really free the ball from the chains that they are in through our capitalist society without addressing the stamp issue. I feel like this is huge, and if I don't hear from this, I'm afraid.
I'm going to let you respond because that's directly to you.
You mentioned me being in the Green Party and you're asking me to take a political stance. In the news today with our expulsion of our main minister going against the party whip. Let me read the party manifesto about 9 times before I even think about responding. That's why I will lose my position.
Okay. Any new pieces of private members' business? I'll go to Cormac.
It's actually unenforced, but it's illegal for a stamp of the Queen.
Did you not listen to what I just said? Any new pieces, please? Okay, I'll go to Noah first.
I was watching the video of Boris Johnson defending himself party throughout lockdown yesterday, and I wondered if you agreed with the first commenter on Facebook that I saw called John. John described Boris Johnson in one word as a wanker. What do you all think about that?
Any word responses, I guess?
I'll tell you something, you know, everyone, I've heard stories about my great happy. But you'll find that my great uncle used to often say, and he still does, that Boris never done any harm. And I maintain that the party line is, you say, I'll be kicked out of my family if I don't abide by that line. And to be honest, I think it's right, and I think it's only right. And I think it's an injustice. How dare they put Boris Johnson up and question his obviously questionable behaviour?
Anything else on this?
Jack Sands, do you ever think that Boris Johnson has too many children to be a wanker?
Anybody on Boris Johnson's family size?
I don't believe it says that anymore. One of his Wikipedia article did list his number of children as quote, at least 6.
That was in the gift of inspiration.
Back to you.
Not to bring it back to letters and stamps. Do you reckon Boris Johnson sends out birthday letters as to whom it may concern?
Anybody on that? Okay, any new pieces of private members' business?
You ignored Daniel.
Just
Oh, I did not
voice
say. Okay, Jacqueline.
I had the misfortune of coming across the official president of the United States Instagram today, and it was basically an edit of Joe Biden. It was like almost a thirst trap of him just bossing around the White House, and I just wanted to get the House's opinion on the official president of the United States Instagram account posting their stats of our president.
I'll go to you first because you haven't spoken.
I'd like to say, all praise Darth Brandon, everything he does is correct.
Anything else on the first traps, I guess? I'll go Noah first. Anybody? I'll go you then you. Yeah.
The fact that this thing exists shows the decline society of the Western world, which is why we need Russia to nuke us all. This is what we deserve. It's our own fault. I don't even support him. I hate Dark Brandon, so I do. But
let's go, Brandon.
Actually, The nuclear holocaust would be preferable to this.
Oh God.
I'm gonna let Jack respond to that.
Someone might say, I don't know what that was, but my flatmates are, they're quite dim. Recently, I've watched a lot of TikTok, and recently they've been actually showing me videos of people doing like edits of Joe Biden, like you said, and like showing it's like slamming, and it's like him sitting saying like, "Oh, wipe me all out," and like an eagle flies across the screen. Plays like funk music and shit, and they're showing this to me, and I'm going like, "Do you not think that that's like American propaganda?" And they genuinely look at me with like no light behind their eyes and just say, "It goes hard, bro." I like easily susceptible people about propaganda. What the fuck?
Has anyone, speaking of edits and things like that, has anyone seen the deepfake photos of Donald Trump being arrested? Yeah, that came out this week. Is someone made up these photos of him like being like violently arrested, like running away from the policeman, which are very, very entertaining. And anyone who hasn't seen them, I recommend you go and look them up.
I don't know.
To your point about Trump's being arrested, the whole meme originated from Trump saying on Truth Social that his imminent arrest on Tuesday, that didn't come to pass, was going to happen, and he encouraged Trump supporters to protest. And when no one showed up in Manhattan to protest it, I'm almost certain he alluded to Manhattan being a shithole.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this? Okay.
Our dear leader will never be arrested. He is perfect in everything he ever does. He's never done anything wrong to me. He is just. He is just perfect in every single way. He's never done anything wrong. They are just coming after him. It's the nasty, nasty, nasty evil left.
Any new pieces of private members' business?
We all know.
Hang on, I just want to respond to this.
You can respond.
Do you ever hear Donald Trump get up and say that nobody understands
Fake news!
Why don't we start this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can. It's max 15 minutes, but anyway. Now we move on to President's questions, where you have 5 minutes to ask me any question you want. Oh no. Why so many? Oh god. I'll go to Sean first.
Have you read much of the Book of Mormon?
It was gifted to me on my birthday,
I know, so.
and I looked at the pictures. They were pretty. There were pictures in it.
Yes, there are.
They were.
I'll give you the later.
But I didn't actually read the words. I'm very sorry. I'll go to Zach.
Madam President, I'm sure you get very sick and tired already of being asked what at breakfast each morning, because every time you have breakfast, I'm sure that's on your mind. So I'm going to ask what you had for breakfast yesterday morning when you didn't think you were going to be judged.
I can't remember that far back. I think I had eggs on toast. I think. That's my guess. Okay, I'll go to you.
Madam President, I would like a full apology on behalf of the respiratory system of me, Sam, yes, Dermot, for having to spend the night in the oppressive conditions present in Ulcombe Farm, Dublin.
I didn't send you there.
Clarify this.
I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize. First of all, I don't live there. I don't know why you decided to go there and stay the night at the very and I didn't invite you there, so I'm not going to apologise for it. I'll go to Jack.
First of all, I really don't appreciate you slagging off my gift to you for your birthday. I found that on the side of the road. You would really enjoy it. Okay, I've done a motion like this before as regards to suits. Can I propose any time that Luke McGuire is a speaking member of the Literific, one day speaking, the private member's business be reduced to only 5 minutes?
Is this constitution? I get. Okay, if you second. Okay, can we have a vote? I guess. Okay, if you believe that when Luke McGuire is speaking at the Literific in a debate, we have to limit private members' business to 5 minutes.
Can I add onto this that says that just Luke McGuire shouldn't be allowed to speak? Please raise your hand. Okay. Oh.
Cards. Fascists. This is cancel culture.
And if you think that we should should not, it was 13 by the way, but if you think we should not limit it to 5 minutes when Luke McGuire is speaking, please raise your hand now.
If I get to put the gag on, I'll do it.
Just 4.
We're just going to limit it for
If you, okay. And if you want to abstain, okay. 1, 2. If you want to abstain, nobody else is one of them, I guess. Okay, so that's 13 4 against and 2 abstaining. So I guess you do have to. It's limited to 5 minutes when you're speaking.
Well, that's everybody else's problem, not me. They want to speak.
Okay. Any other president's questions, I guess? I'll go to Luke first.
I believe, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was in Lavery's and I decided to sign up the conversation.
Yeah.
A promise was made to me that has not been fulfilled. That someone would make all their efforts, multiple people promised this, to ensure that I could wear suits again. I was wondering if you would force this member of council to second such a motion.
I think that technically, though, you're just banned from wearing suits to debates, not to the
No, I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, but we don't. It's not here. We're not having the formal here.
He hasn't been able to wear a suit ever since that happened.
It was then
I gotta go to a funeral in pajamas.
Okay. Well, a motion that you can just wear at the conversazione then, I guess.
Just on this point, it's kind of irrelevant because the dress code of the club requires you to wear
Yeah,
a suit.
you're
So once
fine.
you're required to actually wear a suit.
We don't even need to do a motion for this.
James is clearly.
I'll go to Noah, and then I can take one more question. So I don't know.
Jack brought up that member of the Green Party Party, right? In 2025, when the general election happens, how many MPs or MLAs do you think the Green Party are going to have?
Okay. I don't know, and probably not many, I guess. Anyway, with that, I would like to. It's voter prior opinion. I forgot about that. Yeah. So. The motion is, this House believes that Walter White acted morally. So if you think that Walter White did act morally, please raise your hand and say aye now. Or none of you. 4, 5, 6. 10. Yeah. And if you do not think that Walter White acted morally, please raise your hand now. Okay.
Don't tell me you're all distracted by carols and cakes.
So 9. James is 9. 10. Yeah. And if you want to abstain on the motion,
This is 2 votes.
10. 11. So the vote of prior opinion. It's
So there were 10 votes for the proposition, 9 for the opposition, and 11 alliance voters. So
Nobody else has it. Nobody has it. Great.
amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a couple of rules first. The speeches are all 7 minutes long. First and last minute is protected time, meaning you cannot POI anyone, and also the 5 minutes in between you can POI people, but please no barracking, and also please keep your POIs below 10 seconds. With that, I'd like to welcome Cormac McSparn to open proposition.
When viewers were first introduced to Walter White at the start of Breaking Bad, he was a sympathetic guy. He was middle-aged, living in a mundane but pretty stable life before everything was torn apart by cancer, which is something that almost everyone can understand in some way. Whilst he began his work as a career criminal, meth dealer, all that, it started out with nothing but genuinely good intentions to provide well for his family. And what's better than family? Good intentions. However, don't change the fact that he did, he ended his life having formed an expansive criminal empire with a trail of blood directly behind him and a family who hated everything he stood for. But, and I would contend this, he did all of this morally. And the opposition just hate good old success. Walter White is a bad person, I'll say this, he's a bad person. He was a bad husband. He was even a bad father to Walt Jr. So much so that Walt Jr. would change his name to Flynn, which is probably, okay, there's 3 scenes I hate about Breaking Bad. Okay, no. Okay, there's the Flynn scene, there's the birthday scene, and then there's the worst scene. Whenever Walt, the worst thing he maybe does is whenever he tries to make a move on the school teacher. Oh, it's so cringe, I couldn't watch the scene, And but all in all, he's surrounded by, arguably his downfall is his moral failings, but not that he acted morally. Yes. Okay, sure, yeah, go for it.
What side are you on?
It's like a labour of love. It's like you gotta look at it, the big picture. He has to, think about it. If you were in his shoes, he has to put up with his son who calls him a pussy, and to just die already. A wife who cooks him veggie bacon, and whenever she's lying next to him, is more concerned with eBay than anything else. Oh, he's all remember that scene.
On that point,
sure, go for it.
I don't remember that scene much.
So this downfall of Walter White arguably didn't start during his meth empire, but 20 years before that, whenever he was with, and he was going out with Gretchen Swartz. Now, a lot of people don't know, so we're also going to talk about tonight how he had the perfect opportunity to become a billionaire with grey matter and all of that. And why did he leave grey matter? It's very, very unclear in the show. It's hinted at times. But the main reason is he was going out with Gretchen. They were engaged, so they weren't just I don't know. Yeah, they were, Walter was down bad. And what happened was they split apart, and then he left grey matter because of it, and he sold his share for a few $1,000s. And where I was going with this was, the same pattern is seen with the eventual killing of Gus. He could have, as Mike said, shut up and done his job, but his pride and ego is what got in the way. It got him with Gretchen Swartz, and by the way, the reason he broke up with Gretchen was because he was always intimidated by the fact that she was from a wealthy family, and he was, quite poor and all that kind of thing. Bad relationship with his parents. Estranged from his mother, and his father died young. And a lot of people have said that part of the real issue with Walter is his Oedipus complex. Yeah, and I'm not going to get into that today. Sure, yeah, go for it.
Wait with Walter, when you're done with this speech, you want my seat so you can sit.
No. But with this pride in his ego was essentially where he went bad. So, for example, the whole thing. No. Just because he went bad doesn't mean he acted morally incorrect. No. What he did was arguably a tactical mistake, but not necessarily bad.
On that point.
Okay, go for it.
Can I refer you to my previous...
No, shut up. Walter White joined the criminal underworld. Life expectancy low. I have a question for the opposition. Do you guys view drugs as immoral? They won't say. He will. But, and that he was very successful at doing this. Now, they say that, his success is also a thing because socialism, all that kind of thing. But is there anything wrong with him doing something that he also enjoys that is also for a necessity? Sure, yeah.
If you were in Walter's position, would you also be creating that empire?
That wouldn't really be my style of things. I'd maybe like... I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know. But nobody here will say tonight that Jesse Pinkman's morally bad, and that's because Jesse Pinkman wasn't smart and he wasn't that successful at it. And also, as we know, as Saul Goodman said, real name Jimmy McGill by the way, Walter White couldn't have done it without me. Therefore, much of the collateral damage inflicted along the way by Walter is an unintended effect. And now here's a real big one. Was Walter bad for watching Jane die? No. Right. So, you have this woman, she's going out with Jesse Pinkman, Jesse's down bad. They eventually get back onto heroin. Now, what would have happened if Jane had survived that night and Walter had, say, stopped her ODing or called an ambulance? She would have ruined Jesse's life. She would also have ruined Walter by, grassing him up to the media like she said she was going to do, and the police. So therefore, was Walter morally bad for doing that? No. Is Walt responsible for what happened to Jesse? He ends up being kidnapped by neo-Nazis and all the rest of the bad stuff that happens? No. Jesse Pinkman was always going to go down the route of slavery. Being a bit shit, Should Walter have poisoned that kid? Yes. Ross was asking for it. The reason why I should have poisoned the kid was it wasn't ever gonna kill him. It was a tactical poisoning. And it was all part of a bigger plan to take down Gus. And my favourite thing about Walter is whenever he puts on the hat and the glasses and he feels cool and the music plays, and it goes dur, 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 dur. And I have a question. Would Walter Wright have ran to be president of the Literific? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to welcome Saj up to open.
How will I follow that beautiful own goal? Did more work for me than I think I'm going to be doing for these guys. Good evening, comrades and infidels. It is my pleasure to make my maiden speech at the Literific on such a fine topic of discussion. A topic that has racked the brains of moral philosophers for the ages. Is it okay to poison children? Is it all Gucci to let your work colleagues shoot a child? And worst of all, the ethical implications of throwing a pizza on a roof. My comrades, speaking on the opposition today, will, I'm sure, discuss in great length the ethical conundrums, the moral queries, the trolley problem that is Walter White's life. I will be taking a different approach. Colloquial wisdom urges us to judge a man by the company he keeps, and so who better to weigh the heart of Walter White against than his peers? I did it all for my family. This is the rallying cry of all Walter White fanboys, the kind of people who post fake quotes on black and white images of Tommy Shelby. Anyone of reasoned mind and frankly of sound hearing will know that this is false. He admits it at the end of the show. But there is a man for which this is true, Mike Ermintright. Is Mike a good man? Does Mike have an easy last name to spell? The answer to both of these questions is no. Mike represents what Walter claims to be, a man of integrity, a man with a code of honor, ultimately a family man. Mike is a man with a particular set of skills, utilizing what he's good at to make a living and secure a future for his granddaughter. What we see in Mike is Walter White without ego and pretense. Mike doesn't presume to be a good man. He grapples with the sober reality that he is the bad guy. When the proposition asks you to consider how Walt did it all for the family, consider the real family guy here. I think there's a family guy meme here. The closest peer for whom we will put on the scales against Walter, and the most tragic figure in Breaking Bad, is the sacrificial lamb Jesse Pinkman. Like many great works of art and seminal pieces in Golden Age television, the show makes symbolic use of the relationship between God the Father and God the Son. The story of Jesse is a story of a loss of innocence, a dark twist on the story of Christ. Jesus died for our sins, while Jesse lived for them. Jesse is a character of great sympathy for the suffering of others, forced to live in a cruel and uncaring world, time and time again.
On that point, not there's so, sort of disagreement among your side, but who had it was? Jesus or Jesse Pinkman?
Jesse Pinkman.
Maybe fighting words.
At least Jesus got to die, it ended. He's in heaven, right? Time and time again, we see Jesse in the most dire of circumstances take the time to think of others, to care for the weakest among us. From the simplest scenes in the early seasons, showing Jesse caring for the welfare of a beetle, to his protection of a neglected child in a crack den, from seeing even more unspeakable horrors. When we first meet Jesse, he is childlike. A teenager's understanding of what it is to be a drug dealer, with a gaudy license plate, tacky clothing, and wannabe verbiage. Science, bitch! This is until he comes into the dark tutelage of a cruel, jealous, and vengeful god, Walter White. Walter takes Jesse to new heights, from small fish criminal to fish food for bigger criminals. From Tuco to Gus Fring to Walt himself, it is Jesse who consistently suffers the consequences of Walter's actions. When Walt pushes to meet with Tuco to expand his empire, it is Jesse who ends up in the hospital. When Walter lies to Hank about Marie being in an accident, it is Jesse who gets beaten to a pulp. When Walter is about to face his long-awaited comeuppance, it is Jesse who is taken into literal slavery. Walt does the crime and Jesse does the time. When the proposition inevitably tries to claim some fantasy redemption arc for Walter, I want you to remember who really did the penance. Whenever our Christ-like figure tries to free himself from Walt's control, he finds himself living in a perpetual cycle of finding something good, something worth living for, only for his evil father figure to take it away in a fit of jealous rage. Never forget Jane. Vote against the proposition tonight. Vote for Mike and vote for Jesse Christ. There's another one as well. There's Jesse Christ.
Is Jacqueline next? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to welcome Jacqueline up for the second proposition.
I want to make it clear that I do want this to burn into my time. It makes a statement. It's very important. I think morality is like art. There's no one correct way to do it. I would have committed to the part more, but unfortunately there were no cancer starter packs left at Tesco. So we're just gonna have to make do. If you don't think Walty Boy acted morally, I'm here to drop some sick nihilist bars on you guys. Morality is a construct. You know what else is? The law. Real Sigmas acknowledge that the law is oppressive, trying to stop us from drinking and driving because we have to stop trying to get combo points on toddlers. Walter White took one look at these oppressive laws and said, no thank you. That to me is the most moral thing of all. Anarchy 2023 under this house. Forgot. I'm sure everyone has seen that. I'm sure everyone here has seen that one scene from Ozark floating around on Instagram with the Sigma music in the background where the kid argues with the teacher over how the drug industry in America was a good thing. That little kid mentioned how the illegal drug trade was one of the only things propping up the US economy during the housing crash, and how everyone dealing drugs is supporting their own lives as best they can. Now I'll admit, Walty Boy Walty Boy may have taken things a step above fulfilling his basic survival needs via the drug industry. But let's be honest, didn't we all get satisfaction every time Walt absolutely annihilated someone? That's because morality doesn't stop at meeting a person's bare minimum needs, nor is morality inherently utilitarian. The history of morality has been shown to be oftentimes impossible to pin down because there are exceptions to every possible definition. For the sake of this argument, I am the most fervent capitalist to ever grace the planet. Why are the opposition a bunch of commie success-hating babies is my main question. You slander
On that point!
No. Who's just living the American dream of running a drug cartel the size of a NASDAQ enterprise? And absolutely single-handedly propping up the US economy like Atlas instead of getting on the grind and making your own coin. In keeping with the capitalist theme, Walty Boy is one Atlas who will not shrug. This house continually finds itself confronted with enemies who seek to limit a good time. Sure, just now it may be calling Walter White immoral, but all too soon it will be book burning, the handmaiden, and the banning of orgies. Visit America and the meth heads will be the only entertainment you need. The opposition to You threw me off the rhythm, man. You threw me off the groove. No. Visit America and the meth heads, of course. The opposition to the house would have people like Rory, who can play William Tell's overture on their teeth, starving of their Walt's precious blue sky. For what? For fake morality? For virtue signaling bullshit? Support this house and support Walter White, who acted so morally, I'm extending him a sainthood on behalf of the Catholic Church for his efforts.
For that beautiful piece of performance art. And I'd like to welcome Sean Carden as second opposition.
This has a wig. Walter Hartwell White was a family man, a teacher, an academic who unfortunately was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. And as an American, I'm sure you all know that means he's fucked. The medical bills are sure to financially suffocate him and his family. But he's a smart man with a particular set of skills and knowledge. So he started to cook meth to make up that money so that if he doesn't make it through, his family can stay afloat. Although the initial premise of what he set out to do was grounded in good intentions, how did this actually develop as time went on and he got more and more involved in the organised crime world? His list of crimes was extensive. No matter his intentions initially, how could any man commit such heinous acts and have any form of moral compass? He committed mass murder, drug trafficking, kidnapping, domestic abuse, child poisoning, he's bald, he laundered money, he killed Mike, which is fucked up. But like, obviously the worst of it, he killed Mike. I love Mike and he's fucking class. Of course, out of all the crimes committed throughout the show, the notable moment he goes beyond help, crosses the line and accepts his new evil self, is when he shaved his head bald to become more like who I imagine is his villain inspiration, Felonious Groove from Despicable Me. And I know what you might say, but Sean, Hank is bald and he's good. Mike is bald and he's so cute. But these men are naturally bald. That's okay. Walter shaved his head as a way for the showrunners to portray his acceptance and development into the villain he will become. Even in this comparison to Gru, okay? Even in the comparison to Gru, is Walter White really the same level of evil as Gru? The simple answer is no.
On that point,
yes.
Are you saying that every single business chemotherapy is morally bad?
I said that Walter shaved his head, okay?
Is every single business shaved the head to go into chemotherapy morally bad?
This is one fight, okay? Ignore it. It's all make-believe, okay? Walter begins with wanting to help his family, but he gets lost in this underworld of crime. It only continues for his own self-gain. Yep. This is evident. Season 5, episode 16, where he's arguing with Skyler, says, I did it for me, I liked it, I was good at it. Walter stayed in the meth business because he liked it. It satisfied his own ego. He may have started with wanting to help his family, but ultimately he was doing it for himself and his own selfish reasons. There was a point where he made more than enough money to not only pay off every medical bill his treatment would ever arise, as well as any other ailments he or his family would have, as well as being able to put both children through university and live comfortably, but he kept going to feed his own insatiable ego. Green and despicable me started with plans of evil, but he ended up finding a family for him to care for, and his happiness was derived for caring for them. This simply implies that Walter White had that evil within him all along. He had that dog in him, and he let himself. Whereas Gru, as a bona fide superbomb, is nowhere near as self-centered in her heart. Gru is a better father and a better person. Whereas Walter is an arrogant, egotistical sociopath. He was responsible for, over the course of the show, 204 deaths, 15 directly and 109 indirectly. More if you count the lives. More if you count the lives taken by the meth which he made and distributed. In what scenario could anyone be morally responsible for hundreds of deaths, hundreds of families destroyed, and he would have killed more if he didn't accidentally shit himself with a robot? Basically, no thanks. Basically, do any of you really think that mass murder is morally acceptable? Is killing Mike Ehrmantraut anyway morally acceptable? Walter Bab. One little final note. This is from the heart here, because I miss Mike, and it genuinely broke my heart when his little bald head was laid under his grave. And I will never, ever forgive Walter White, and I hope he'll join me in this. I want everyone to shake their heads right now to show that we disagree with Mike Ehrmantraut's death. He doesn't deserve it.
On that point,
yes.
Mike Ehrmantraut is a fictional character.
And so's Walter White.
On that point?
No. I'm done.
If that's not cool, that's our
It's running.
This one's less recognizable. What is it? It's like a Unabomber.
It's Stevie Cooper.
Is that the closest you can get to Walter White during the show?
I'm just using what I had.
It's the guy from Jurassic Park.
Shockingly, this is not the main prop I'm going to use. I'm going to use instead this, which is a chocolate dog I got in Marks and Spencer's called Walter the Puppy. And for my argument, I'm going to call your attention to the iconic movie Old Yeller. Poor old Yeller, everyone's favourite, most loyal, loving dog, who unfortunately caught rabies and had to be put down. Spoilers. The comparisons between Old Yeller and Walter White are, I hope, obvious. Walter White too was fundamentally a good man who found himself in a very bad situation. That being that he was diagnosed with lung cancer and had to find some way of putting his talents to use to pay for his medical bills and make sure his family didn't end up in debt. Only after he started getting into the drug trade did things start escalating, and he had to respond to...
On that point,
Not yet.
rabies to cancer.
Sorry?
Rabies to cancer.
Yes. For this purpose, yes. Or not exactly. The rabies is not the cancer. The rabies is the drug trade.
Should people with cancer be put down like Old Yeller?
I just compared rabies to the drug trade instead.
Should druggies be put down?
Yeah, so I would like to call this house to the fact that only a couple months ago, this house overwhelmingly voted to legalize all drugs. So this isn't a question of legality. Clearly there are some differences of opinion on whether the law is right. In another world, Walter's talent for making meth would be appreciated by society.
On that point, what about coming for poisoning kids?
In that situation, he was being targeted by a much more ruthless drug dealer than him, Gus Fring, and he had to do whatever it took to keep himself alive. Much like how an animal, we do not judge animals for killing other animals. We accept that as part of the circle of life. No. No. No, I'll take looks.
Are all criminals animals that should be put down?
No.
Sorry.
The question here is that it was unfortunate that Old Yeller had to be put down. But circumstances push things beyond the poor dog's control. Much like Walter White, it is unfortunate that he wound down the route that he ended up in, and that he died the way he did. In another world, he didn't develop lung cancer. And he stayed the good family man that he was always intended to be.
So is that how my uncle caught lung cancer?
I will take points of orders here, points of information on specific acts that Walter White did, and I will argue why they were good. Go on.
He committed marital rape against Gary.
I will take literally any other point of information. Please.
What was your favourite murder committed around Brian Walter? My first one ever was when he killed Gus.
Yes, Gus was a ruthless drug dealer, an animal, if you will, and his death will, or it should not, be missed.
Do you agree with Walter White allying himself with neo-Nazis?
A point there is that
Say no.
But he did what he had to keep himself alive from wider threats. Self-preservation is a natural instinct and should not be treated as immoral. Yes.
Okay. Back to Sash's point earlier about the company that you made. Walt's only true friend throughout the entire show was Gail, who was a self-professed libertarian. How does this reflect on? He was a libertarian. The only mate he had was a libertarian. What does that say about Walt?
Well, again, in that situation, either Gail died or Walt and Jesse are going to die. It's a version of the trolley problem. It's unfortunate that Gail got caught in the crossfires, but by choosing to kill Gail instead, Walt saved himself and Jesse, a net positive sum of life saved.
You're going to have to die a hero and live long enough to see yourself become a libertarian.
So, as a summary then, put yourself in the shoes of Walter White. If drug dealers try to kill you, you're going to have to kill them first. Unless you want to die. Do not answer that. Self-preservation is a natural, evolutionary, human instinct. We don't judge animals for what they do in the course of nature. And throughout the show, Walter White acted in primal ways by being put in an unfortunate situation. That should not be judged amorally. I ask the House this. Does being put in a bad situation, i.e. developing lung cancer and having to find a way to pay for that, to not put your family in debt, make Walter White a bad person if all he did was make the best of a bad situation? Just because things ended badly does not mean that he acted immorally. And also, he died killing Nazis. So did Hitler, but that's besides the point.
This is all I have prepared.
I was asked very short notice, so God love you is what I'm going to say. Because I don't even know. Nah. Shocker, I know. I will agree with you. People with shaved heads are evil. Immoral, egotistical, arrogant people. Horrible. But I would say to you four, get behind me, Satan. So I would say to try and justify the actions of a man who loves nothing more than money, nothing more than power. It's truly evil. I don't love money, I don't love power. Never said such things, ever. Not once. Cormac. Thank you for being on our side, first of all. And your argument essentially was, Walter White isn't bad because I said so. Not really an argument. Not at all. And then I believe Ayn Rand was brought up later. You know, the famous female male chauvinist by her own admission. And I would say to you that no matter the excuse, cancer, whatever it is, an evil act is evil regardless of your situation. Doesn't matter how unfortunate it is.
Insinuate Ayn Rand is evil?
You think I would lack support for that? Yes, of course she's evil. Evil is simply the absence of the good. It's privation of good, that's all it is. It's parasitical to the good. The only thing that Walter White had in his life was jealousy. Walter White wasn't a good man who was turned bad by money. He wasn't. Walter White was a man who was so weak and pathetic, but evil to his core, but never had the opportunity to be bad. Hence the term Breaking Bad. So once he got the opportunity to be bad, he perpetrated such evils that many of you could never imagine. Poisoning children. Actually, no, you could poison children. Yes.
So do you think, so obviously I would agree that Walter was bad from the start, but do you not agree that he has sort of moral change and he becomes good towards the end? Because he does free Jesse, kills the neo-Nazis, he tries his best to save Mike. So yes.
God, no, we killed Mike. Jesus. But the worst one. It is, I agree. But okay.
Can we confirm that killing neo-Nazis is bad?
Yes, of course. Jesus. I didn't think I would have to say it. Actually, no, it did. But Walter White and Jesse Pinkman were made for each other. One an evil narcissist, the other a pathetic narcissist.
On that point?
Yes?
Which you relate to more?
I would know narcissistic, I don't know what you're on about. I'm just right. I'm perfect in every way. Never said anything bad about anybody. But oh Jesus. But yes, Walter White's actions were solely motivated by power, jealousy, greed, simply because he made the stupid mistake of selling out his own company when he was younger and never got to amass the billions he could have. He was motivated by jealousy and hatred of the actual successful people. So no, we're not communists, you are. So they are. He hates success. He hates other people having money. He hates other people having power. He wants it all for himself. Not that I would ever want that. So, yes?
If you hate Ayn Rand and you don't like neo-Nazis, that only leaves two political quadrants for you to fall into. One of those is commies, so like, you never needed the nominations.
Well, I would stand athwart all politics because I am a righteous Catholic. Graceful. But I would say the fundamental argument of these people is it's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven.
Get that Milton stuff out of here.
And to quote a great Russian, above all things, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lies becomes comes to a point where he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so loses all respect for himself and others, and having no respect, he ceases to love.
On that point,
Yes?
surely you would agree that all actions of everyone is part of God's eternal plan for us all. So therefore, his actions morally right, or is God immoral?
I can't believe this turned into a more theological debate than last week. Well, this is a very, it's completely side to the argument, but okay. The difference is permissive and active will. God permits certain evils so that people may have free will instead of forcing you to do everything like Calvinists believe. God allows free will, so you must be able to choose evil, or you do not have it, unless you would want to be forced to do every last thing in life and have no free will, which I both think we believe would be wrong. So no, God is not evil, God is not narcissistic, God just allows us to be evil and narcissistic, like myself. But I would say that Walter was a godless heathen, who it would be better if he never, thanks to the American healthcare system, never got the support or healthcare that he needed because of the evils he would later go on to perpetrate. So what I'm saying is the greatest moral actor in all the West is the American healthcare system. The American healthcare system never did anything bad to me. Thank you for your time.
Methamphetamine. What a concept. I would try argue that Walter was morally right, but my side sort of put me in the position where I can't by saying it's bad. So I'm gonna say that, maybe we should separate Walter from the actual true beauty that he does, which is sell meth. Because as many of the houses aware, we all really, really like meth. That's why we all watched the show. It's lovely. Meth is lovely. So I love what the opposition keeps bringing up. They keep bringing up the healthcare system. And I want to put Walter White, I'm going to place him into the healthcare system as a morally grey pharmacist. Right, so insulin makes it so you cannot survive. No, you can survive because you'll die You'll die without your insulin. But meth, what does meth do? Meth makes it so you can live. You can experience shit on meth that you would never even be able to dream of. It's that good. So, yeah, go. All of you.
Can you describe your experiences on meth?
I mean, I can. Would the opposition
That'd be the real performance
want me to do meth? And I want to come back to the morally grey pharmacist.
You don't believe what you're saying?
Oh no, I do believe in every single bit of
meth
it.
or no balls?
Already on that. Yes. In America, there's actually some states where meth is legal. They use it for epilepsy and stuff. So Walter White, he's supplying this insanely pure meth to treat epileptics. Yes.
Are you suggesting that Walter White is filling a gap in the market in which the free market allows him to give drugs to people who are suffering?
Yes.
Is Walter White Ryan Brown's personal hero?
Yes, Walter White's our hero.
On that point?
No. The opposition wants you to think that having two jobs is bad. That's the real problem they are bringing in. Those communists, all of them, because they do not like the hustle of Walter White, where he's a school teacher by day, meth dealer by night, meth cook by night, with his little Robin, boy wonder, Jesse Pinkman. And I would like to now bring the main part of my argument, which is, has the House well, most of you, I'm going to guess because it's an insanely good piece of art, watched Cocaine Bear. I propose Meth Bear. And how would we give the bird a meth? Because you have to smoke meth, I'm pretty sure. What the birds love, they like fish. So we get a smoke. So we smoke a cod in meth. And you know what we do? We give it to the bird. Now we have a growth in the film industry. Meth bear.
On that point,
yes.
We serve smoked salmon with white wine, often a Sauvignon Blanc. You serve salmon with
meth wine. A man's in the banana.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Oh. Let's go. Right, so in the Vietnam War, the soldiers would take. Daniel, you fucker! In the Vietnam War. It's okay, I just thought it would be funny. In the Vietnam War, the soldiers would take meth, and what did meth do? Bulletproof. Men couldn't feel bullets. They just passed through, and they couldn't tell. You could get sprayed down by any gun.
On that point?
Yeah, go.
Didn't the communists win that war?
I don't remember. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Walter White. He was actually apparently angry because of his grey matter thing, which I'm not quite sure. I think it was a business. No, I actually don't think that he was motivated for his anger with his failure in grey matter, but for his taste and his devotion for following the meth institution. He left grey matter for his true dream job, to sell meth. Because we all, yes.
Would you say that the real meth is the friends we made along the way?
Yes. And that poisoning we're talking about of the child, that could just come down to someone having a little joke. Which, when it comes to it, isn't actually that bad. If it's for a joke. And as long as he didn't kill the kid. You get it, like, people poison people all the time. And, okay, let's go to Walter having to obey the law, which we all do, because we're all such good, upstanding citizens. Why don't we just change the law to fit Walter White's view on selling meth? Because we all know Walter loves meth. Because we all love meth. And the opposition, they keep talking about Walter being selfish. But everyone's selfish. I went into my fridge this morning and I had 10 yogurts. People like yogurt. Yogurt's nearly as good as meth. The only... Okay, I'm going to rank some things here. Meth, yogurt, heroin, chocolate raisins. And then all the way at the very, very bottom, apparently, the French.
Thank you, Rory. And I'd like to welcome Jack Hanlon to close the
Is everyone else serious?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Thanks.
Hey guys. So
He's talking a lot, like, really, it's just embarrassing. Okay, so I ran out of ideas. So I've decided to present this in the form of This is my research assistant, Johnny Malice.
So the question as we understand it is, did Walter White act morally? No. This answer is a wholly unsatisfactory conclusion, however, as this room is full of nitpicking dweebs who wish to see a good man fail. Thus, how do we prove this in a way that's unquestionably verifiable so that I don't have to listen to any of you once I leave? Further question from this, how can we quantify morality to be commensurable? Let's take a positivistic approach to it. What was the worst thing Walty Boy did and how do we determine this? I tried a load of different methods. Standard truth charts didn't work out. I couldn't be bothered to actually just go straight into do formal logic. So I sat doing this for like an hour and then I found out it was just like completely useless. I mainly in temporary lack of class and this methodology of reef-trade programs. I just couldn't be arsed of it. So I tried another attempt and I was slightly more successful. I introduced the sawbucks. Using mental illness, or as I prefer to call it, a gift from question mark, I have developed a quantifiable system based on the works of Bentham designed to measure moral actions performed in TV shows by Vince Gilligan against each other so that we can adequately form a starting basis of morality. It's like a computer array. It's basically a utilitarian calculation of the negative moral value of every action Walter performs in the show, accounting for primary and secondary moral consequences, rated separately out of 5 and then added together. Here's my logic showing it. Primaries, that's like the people with directly effects. Secondaries, people with like, partially effects. Add them together. It's semantically equivalent to TSC. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of touching grass?
Well, I thought about that and then I thought, how can I, actually make SolidWorks work a little bit better so I'd have more time. So I got my flatmate who does software engineering to code it into a computer array for me. So I made a whole algorithm to make the decision, see if it was organised around was the worst one. Was this useful? No. SolidWorks were useless as the conventionality they offered for reading primary and secondary consequences just added more layers of optionality. You are all familiar with modal deontology? Of course, yes. Okay, cool. So I drew this up. This is basically why, I thought this was it. This is going to be the necessary explanation to take SolidWorks to the moon, keep it going. But then I completely forgot, silly me, about the standard scheme, so I've got it symbolically formulated here for you. So, because I did it as a Deont Explorer, but I completely forgot, silly me, about the traditional threefold classification. So it should look a little bit more like this. Yes, look, you're on my team.
See with this system, are you finally able to find Pepe Sylvia from
You're so funny. So these are oppositional relations justified by Moretti, Bizio, et al. First off, I'm hungry. So variables are expressed. Fuck off. Yeah.
Not actually your choice. That is like a third banana.
It's fucking Johnny Banana. The relationship between the logical operators and the corners are to be interpreted as the mode square of opposition with two squares correctly analogous. We weave the modes for option like that, so we get a Deontic hexagon. So we've got a Deontic hexagon. Everything's sweet. Silly me once again. I forgot about considerations for conditional obligations and the applicability of traditional clauses.
Everyone forgets that.
Yeah. What? 4 beers, 2 hits of a pipe, and 2 hours.
Was there meth in the pipe?
Do you know what? Genuinely, I don't know. I don't know what was in it. I started geeking, dude. So basically, this snookered me something shocking. That's a dealer. And I just thought to myself, is researching deontological logic even worth it? So I decided to make a bit of a flow diagram to show my progression. This was me on New Year's Eve when I was 17 years old. I was so young and beautiful. This is me now as I formally start to learn about deontological. And this is a computer AI makeup of what I'll probably look like by the time I graduate if I keep doing this shit. So I was kind of stuck. I didn't know where to go from here because I was bound by the rules of math. But then I thought about my old pal Mike. Only you can decide what's best for you, Jesse, not him, not me. I interpreted what's best for me as in the rules of math. I can do whatever I want. The confines of strict formal and logical practice and consequentialism has limited the scope as to how I'm perceiving the question of what's morality. Because if I stray outside of them, I'm wrong. So let's take an anarchic approach to it and invent a new logical principle, which I call the Hanlonian instant variable for assistance of ideological deontology, abbreviated to HIV/AIDS. Example in the field of me disproving the long-standing Gödel form from early 1800s contemporary Western logical processes. This is a completely valid tautology. You can run this for any fucking script that you want, it'll work. But it forgot the implications of HIV/AIDS, and that I don't like this, I don't like that, so it's wrong. Which seems to be the position that you guys are taking from this. So it brings opinion, bias, and mathematics in a verifiable way. Thus, I didn't have any, I don't know. I don't really know.
Thank you, Jack, for that really good lesson on
Jack, can you shine this for me, please?
And now we're going to move on to questions. So if you have a question for the proposition, please raise your hand now. Good.
You want to say my name for a minute?
Sure.
Dr. Paul HLM.
Of DCU.
My question for the proposition, as someone that missed all but one of your speeches because I'm a happy person, why?
We like math.
Opposition to respond?
I don't really mind if that's alright.
Are there any questions for the opposition?
I think I speak for everyone when I ask them, what the fuck?
Not the question?
Yeah,
opposition to respond.
I don't get how it's followed. It's just using math to prove how what was wrong. Using HIV/AIDS, which is a new. It's actually really simple if you listen.
Just like Walt's cancer, opinion in mathematics and logic is often terminal.
For opposition to respond.
I don't know what they did.
Any of the other proposition
No,
ones?
I do not know what they did.
They were on our side, for God's sake.
Are there any abstaining questions?
I'd like to read everybody something from the Literific's website. In 1907, the Chief Secretary for Ireland, Augustine Birrell, consulted members of the Literific for their opinions on the conversion of Queen's College into a university. And in 1957, Eamon de Valera addressed a huge audience at the Literific. And several members in the 1950s were brought to attend, were testify at meetings and saw hundreds of attendees. Now, given where the society was at, you know, I'd like you to just sort of discuss how you feel, you know, the work and the effort that has gone into improving the society, getting us to where we are now.
Proposition.
I personally think that we're now under the understanding that math is good. so
Anything else other than
because math is good, the society has progressed, it has become better.
I'm going to let somebody else in the proposition answer. I'll go. You're not a Queen student, so I guess you don't really know.
So this society has died before, I think we should die again.
Opposition to respond.
By the hands of Walter White, perhaps, immorally.
Meth is good.
Very moral.
And society has progressed because meth.
Any questions for the proposition?
Sorry, I'm just taking pictures of Jack.
Another question.
following on the point of Eamon de Valera, you've asserted that meth is good. Do you think this is the Ireland that Eamon de Valera died for?
Die again. For methamphetamine.
Opposition response.
As my speech next week will elaborate, Eamon de Valera never died. Eamon de Valera lives in the hearts of all Irishmen, of all everywhere. He never he never did anything wrong in office, not once. He was perfect. Eamon de Valera was a brilliant theocrat.
Any questions for the opposition? Any questions for the opposition? Any more abstaining questions?
Actually, I do have a question for the opposition.
Okay. Yeah.
Jacqueline.
That's not the opposition.
Oh shit, this is just. What's the cap? Just as a sort of long question to
I will say, to be honest, it's because I wear a bald cap because I'm very insecure of the hairstyle I usually go for, which I cannot, so I'll show you later, I can't show you if I'm old. I'm a very shy and nervous person.
Let's broaden it up, maybe if I may slightly edit my question to general choices as goes the hair on the top of your head.
I'd like to make it very clear just to the House that this was going to happen anyway and it was not specifically for the purpose of this speech. Because I feel like that might push my reputation over the boundaries of credibility. So.
Committing to the bit. And are there any abstaining questions? You can't ask yourself a question.
I've seen quite a few people here tonight that don't normally come to the Queen's University Belfast that are in scientific society, and I feel like I ought to point out that it isn't always like this.
Yes, it is, Lauren.
No, it's not always. We don't usually have people in costumes anyway.
I think just you were wearing a bloody mask the other day, like. It's almost not
Proposition.
My question is, in regards to mathematics surrounding HIV/AIDS, what effects does that have upon the cost of living crisis in regards to the sale of methamphetamine?
Opposition to respond. Okay, one question.
The reason for it is genuinely for God Ulster, as you once said. Math exists solely to further our agenda. The deep cabal that you have formed with you and the Carson Sturt all know.
Okay, proposition to respond. One person from the proposition. I'll go back to
it. Doesn't mean anything.
Okay, forward.
I was reading earlier about math, and in some states in the US, after the 2008 crash, some people were kept afloat by selling meth. So, yeah, cost of living crisis, causes.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, now we move on to our vote on speaker ability.
We don't have a problem with selling meth. None of us said anything bad about selling meth.
There's no back and forth at this stage. Okay. No. Okay. Now we move on to our vote on speaker ability. So if you think that the proposition made the best points and spoke best tonight, please raise your hand now.
I think I saw that
Okay.
well.
6, 7. And if you think that the opposition spoke best tonight, please raise your hand now.
It truly works. I think so.
Thanks for the
James, 21. And if you don't think either spoke better, you just can't make up your mind, please raise your hand now.
I would always man, at least seeing people with
I've never been gladder than
7, 21, 6.
How many was the proposition? 7.
7.
There were 7. Shut up. There were 7 voters for the proposition, 21 for the opposition, and there were 6
It was seeing people in the room. So like 50-50 split.
Okay, and with that, the opposition have it. So well done to the opposition. I'd like to remind you all, you still have time to sign up for our Conversazioni, or Literific Formal, as it's also called. We are all going to libraries after this, and could the speakers please come to the front for a photo? Oh, yes.
So, right, next week is this house, please. Home rule was Rome rule, damn fucking right it was. We have an action-packed lineup of awful people next week. I may wear a bowler hat.
You can wear a bowler hat.
There are no sign-ups next week. However, the week after, in like 4 weeks, there are spots on either side of the debate motion to be announced. Thank you very much. So, if you want to speak on a debate that you don't know the motion of, come say hi.
I'm not gonna lie, to me, yours was just like, you